Hey everybody, welcome back to Built for Medicine. Today we're going to be talking about how to invest as a resident, the Roth IRA. I'm Dr. Corbin.
I'm Dr. Madrano.
So the Roth IRA, what is it? It's an individual retirement account, and this is super powerful for a retirement strategy, especially for residents. And I find that when I talk to my co-residents, when I talk to medical students, especially in healthcare, when we start so late in terms of earning income, a lot of times we don't have the best financial practices purely because we haven't really been working. I know for me particularly, I came straight into medical school, and so understanding a little bit more about the finances, being sound in your financial approach is going to really help as you become an attending. And so today we want to cover the Roth IRA, why you should use it, and some of the strategies you can take.
So at what stage should we start thinking about investing in a Roth IRA?
So the Roth IRA, you have to use income because it's a post-tax income account. And the reason why this is so powerful is that you're going to take money that you've already paid taxes on and you're going to invest it. And so that when you come to the retirement age, I believe it's 59 and a half, you can then take the money out without getting taxed. And that's huge because the money grows tax-free with compound interest. And so the age at which you should be looking to get into it is as soon as you make taxable income. A lot of times in the medical profession, going into medical school, maybe you did a summer project where you worked, but I didn't know about it at that early stage. You're not going to have usually a lot of taxable income as a medical student. So I would say if you can, start as early as possible whenever you have taxable income. But for most people, that'll be as an intern.
I'm glad we're talking about this. I've had a couple of jobs before I started medical school, working as an emergency medical technician and then doing some acting in Los Angeles. I never even really considered these things or even heard people talking about these things. My peers weren't really talking about these things. So I'm glad that we're able to do this now. What do you think is the sort of the first step of initiating this process?
That's a great question. And this is something that it's usually very daunting, right? You're talking about taking money that you have, moving it from either a bank account or straight from like the income source that you have and putting it into a system that you're unfamiliar with. It can be very daunting at the very beginning because it could be thousands of dollars. Usually people will use a service like Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab. Those are like the big three that come off the top of my head right now. But this is where you would set up an account. It usually takes about 5 minutes. You'll link it to a bank account. And essentially what you'll do is you'll transfer money over into that account. And this is the biggest piece. You have to invest it. When you transfer the money over, it just goes into a holding account that does not grow with any kind of interest. It just sits there.
Okay.
So you have to invest it once the money comes over. And that's where people kind of make mistakes because they transfer it over into their Roth IRA and they think it's earning interest, but it's not. And so you have to invest it. And that kind of goes into different investing strategies, do some informed research, and then pick the strategy you want.
So doctors make pretty good money. We are residents, however, and we know that there's some residents who are watching this, or med students about to be residents watching this, who may not have a lot in their savings. Maybe they're paying a lot of loans off, or maybe family situations have come up, and they just don't really have a lot. So how much money are we really talking about investing in a Roth IRA per year?
Yeah, so each year is a little bit different. It seems to be going up each year incrementally. So for the 2023 contribution, the max limit is $6,500, so $6,500. And then for 2024, the max contribution will be $7,000. And so these are max contributions. That's the target that you should aim for because of the compound interest that you're going to gain over the course of 30 years of it growing. However, everyone's individual financial outlook is different. And so if you can't afford to do that, then put as much as you can. And the best strategy to do that is to automate everything when it comes to your finances, so that you can automate paying off bills, you can automate saving, and you can automate investing. And that way you can just set it up one time and forget about it. It's already going to come out, and the money you have left is the money you can spend on things you like to do.
Now in medicine, there's a lot of transitions, right? Going from being a medical student to an intern, being an intern to PGY 2, 3, and beyond, and then fellowship. Any advice or considerations for those who are going to a new place for their intern year, similar to like us being matched into advanced specialties, doing a separate intern year, then going to a separate program for the residency, and then potentially even going from a new program as a fellow, and then maybe even going to a new employer after fellowship?
Yeah, so it can get kind of tricky, but luckily, and this is something we'll talk about in a separate video, where like the 401k for your employer, or I guess it could be a 403b if it's a nonprofit organization. That is where it can get hairy, because you're going to be rolling over these accounts into different accounts. But the Roth IRA is an individual account. So the Roth IRA is something that you're going to kind of carry with you by having this Fidelity, Vanguard, or Charles Schwab account. And so it shouldn't be too challenging, because it's just going to be the money that you earn that you just enter.
Another thing that I'm thinking about, my wife is an anesthesiology resident. How does it work with couples who are both in residency training as physicians? Should they both invest in an IRA? Can they share one?
So yeah, it's going to come down to your personal finances and what you can afford. But make sure you do the due diligence of checking the laws. But essentially, I don't know if it depends on whether you file taxes separately, but you can have two separate IRA accounts. So both your wife and you can have an IRA account and contribute separately to those accounts.
Okay.
So that would mean $6,500 a piece for this year and $7,000 a piece for next year. Again, that depends on whether or not you can afford it and if you want to do that, but you can contribute as much as you want up to those limits.
Now, suppose something came up where someone needed to get money from that account. What's the penalty fee looking like?
Yeah, so there are penalties, and that's a really good point. So the thing that kind of incentivizes you to keep your money in these accounts is that you're supposed to keep them in until you're 59 and a half years old. If you take that money out before that, then you will run into a situation where you're paying a penalty fee. Make sure you check online, but what I'm seeing here is you do have to pay federal and state taxes on your early withdrawal, plus a 10% tax penalty. So that means the money that it's been growing without taxes, you will have to pay taxes to that kind of withdrawal amount, plus a 10% penalty fee. So the incentive is don't touch it until you're 59 and a half. And we hope that you guys have learned something. If you found it valuable, if you like this, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.